Welcome back, everyone. Tonight we take a holistic look into various nation-building challenges that have confronted Nigeria since independence and the possible ways the country can overcome them. The dream of Nigeria since independence in 1960 is to turn itself into a viable and cohesive nation, but sadly this has become an impossible dream. Nigeria is a multi-ethnic society with over 250 ethnic groups, and each of these ethnic groups also have religious and economic issues that separate them from one another. Our diversity has been a major obstacle in its drive to become a global and responsible player in the international community. Some have identified various challenges such as corruption, autocracy, governance and distribution that have been the major barriers to the creation of a viable polity. But as Nigeria celebrates 64 years of independence, in what logical ways can Nigeria overcome its nation-building challenges and emerge a viable, cohesive and functional polity in the 21st century? Joining me virtually from Sokoto State is Professor Bello Bada. He's a professor of literature in English. Prof, good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on Politics Tonight. Great to have you on the program.
Thank you. Thank you, and a good evening to you and the viewers.
Right. From a layman point of view, nation building is about building the tangible and intangible threads that hold a political entity together and give it a sense of purpose. So when you dissect the idea of federalism, holding it by the tiniest thread of Nigerian nationalists who believe that federalism will foster nation building in Nigeria. But 63 years down the line as an independent nation, Nigeria is still grappling with challenges of nation building. First, how have we fared as a nation?
So thank you very much. I think one of the most important things to consider is we remain very grateful to our own Creator. For Nigeria to remain united after a long period after independence, I think this is very, very important, commendable. We should remember that this is a multicultural, multi-religious, and a multi-ethnic society. And nobody asked our opinions before we were joined together by our own colonial masters. And remember, each one with his own identity. Yet we remain united up to today, so we remain very grateful to our own Creator. The founding fathers really worked very, very hard for our own survival. He had a vision of a united, strong Nigeria, where we would love each other and contribute greatly to the achievements, and they have our own name on the world map. Those were their own dreams, and they did their best during their own time. People still in the other regions, for example, in the southwest, they still remain very, very grateful to Chief Bada for his own policies. If you come to the north, remaining very grateful to Sir Ahmad Bello, remaining very grateful to the first Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa. If you go to the east, remaining very grateful to others. But really what happened after that? We fought a civil war for about 3 years, yet we remain united. See, one of the first greatest challenge we faced was the civil war, how it was executed. And after the civil war, we were supposed to sit down honestly and sincerely and examine those factors that really brought the civil war, considering them and making sure that we make a timetable, consider them, take care of them, and give a period of which we will be able to conquer those issues so that Nigeria could remain united. I think right from there, we created states, and we thought that was all. But the issue of integration, where people can be, a kind of people can have faith in the country. People can feel they love and they are also loved. People can feel they are treated fairly. I think those factors, we really ignored them, and we continued with the military. The kind of military rule we continued with, the kind of situation where people were more concerned with themselves, their own class, their own friends, real power and what the power could bring. So those were some of the factors really that really affected Nigeria greatly, and the people felt they belong to a particular religion, a particular ethnic group, and a particular geographical area. So people were really searching for a real Nigerian leader. He could be a Nigerian leader from the Igbo side, he could be from the tip or from any other place. But a Nigerian leader, a patriotic Nigerian leader who has Nigeria in his own mind, who is ready to die for the sake of Nigeria, to make all the sacrifices for Nigeria, and I think that was what we really missed. After all the journey, we came to 1999, and the people really thought the man who was elected in 1999 was a real nationalist who could really come and establish, bring unity, develop the economy because of his previous experiences and his own age and his international image. So people really thought perhaps a messiah arrived in Nigeria by 1999 after all the mess up of the military and how they kept us divided. And these were some of the challenges. Sincerely, the man who came in 1999 did not live up to expectations of. I think he allowed his own feelings, like it happens to many of the African countries. When it is time you don't want to go, you try to leave. And sometimes some Europeans say all the rapists die very hard. So the other side of the military side of him, for people who really opposed him, so you could see how an elected governor could be removed, how an elected senator or elected speaker or an elected senate leader could really be removed. So things almost messed up, and there people in Nigeria began to really feel if the man in 1999 up to 2007 could not unite in Nigeria, could not move the economy of Nigeria greater, could be personal, selfish, inviting friends, the people really felt Nigeria has a long way to really go. And this is where we find ourselves.
Interesting, Prof. You know, this is a vast conversation, and we'll try to dissect this from all angles. But is federalism the most suitable principle for ensuring nation building in a heterogeneous country like Nigeria?
When you have federalism, and the federalism is not treated faithfully, it's not given what it is supposed to be given. When it is federalism in name, but not in action. When the leaders are not willing, they pronounce, but in action they are not willing to practice federalism. We end up as we end up now. Nigeria became more divided from 2015 to 2024 as we are now. People distrust each other. And I believe if federalism was really practiced, as it was envisaged, and how people really expected it to be, this would have brought unity among Nigerians and other aspects of Nigeria. But what we are having today is because the leadership was really not faithful to Nigeria as a country, was not faithful to Nigerians as citizens of the country. And continuously, if you look at it, that was what happened. Federalism, yes, federalism, but was federalism practiced as it is supposed to be practiced? Has it been treated faithfully? Was there a commitment, or is there a commitment from the leadership? Is there a sensitization of the people to really understand what is federalism?
Let me comment here. Speaking of leadership and commitment, I want you to speak to the Nigerian model of federalism, where so much fiscal resources and responsibility is being concentrated in the center to the detriment of the state. How would you say this has hampered nation building? Also, over the years, have state governors shown that level of commitment needed to build a nation and foster unity?
You see, the real problem of Nigeria is always who is there at the center. When your own tribesman is at the center, you forget about federalism. You come to get closer, you get appointments, you get contracts, works are cited in your own area, then you pipe down. When somebody else, this is the great failure we really have in Nigeria of uniting the country. When somebody else from another tribe is there, then you begin to come up, you want autonomy for the states, you want resource control for the states, you want this and the other for the states. And when it is the turn of the others, as long as people see the country, not the country belonging to everybody, but the country belonging to the leaders and their own people and their own friends. So the issue of the center, resources concentrating on the center, leaving the states like that. And even the smaller resources that are given to the states, when we go, the local governments are also complaining that the states at the level are not giving them their own due consideration. You see, all this is because of corruption, insincerity, lack of patriotism for the country. That is what is happening. A leader should see himself as a leader who is supposed to treat everybody equally, irrespective of his tribe, irrespective of his religion. The most important is the country and how the country should move forward. And you leave behind what you write your name. You write your name in gold. But whether the resources are concentrated at the center or are concentrated at the state level, as long as you produce the kind of leaders we have, the kind of National Assembly you have, the kind of governors you have, the kind of presidents you have, people who are more very, very parochial, people who are more concerned with their earthly tribesmen and their religious men at the expense of the generality of Nigeria, then Nigeria has a greater challenge to really face. And this was what happened in 1999 up to 2007. And continuously, it became worse in 2015 up to 2023. Of course, we were ruled by this military. For the first time now in 2023, we are being ruled by a president whom we really believed didn't have a military background. And we thought all of us will be on board. And the opportunity given is the president will drive the country to greatness in terms of economy, in terms of unity, in terms of understanding, and this is what it is. For the military, we believe they played a very, very crucial role in some of the corruption we are facing in Nigeria.
Yes. You know, apart from the leadership question, I asked that question because lately there have been calls for the review of the 1999 Constitution to reduce the power and responsibilities of the federal government to common services like foreign affairs, currency, immigration and defense, and granting of more responsibilities to states, as well as a reintroduction of the derivation principle, which allows states to generate its revenue from the resources available in its domain and give a percentage to the central government. Personally, or from your own point of view, are you convinced that this will bring out ingenuity inherent in the various states and lead to perhaps healthy competition in terms of development?
My real problem is, as long as the process we are following in producing our leaders, whether you send a percentage to the federal level, you leave the data percentage to the state level, we will still end up with the same corruption, with the same corrupt leaders, where people buy the positions where they find themselves, where we reward incompetence, where the rule of law does not work. What are you going to tell me? When a whole president of Nigeria from 1999 to 2007 is confessing that he is ready to go to the court to give witness against his own minister because of the Mambila power project. What are you going to tell me? In a country where you have a president together with his governor of central bank finding themselves arguing, you said $49 billion lost. That was not true. And his governor was saying this. And you find people, these are the same people who are making policies, whether you take them back to the state or whether you take them back to the federal level. I tell you, as long as we don't get our leadership process of producing leaders in Nigeria, whatever we do, whether the resources are there. I think, look, ask me or ask yourself, what are these governors now doing with the resources they are receiving? Go and find out. What are they doing with that? When you are unable, you are collecting even resources from FAC every month, you collect a lot of money, you collect revenue, you fail to develop your own state, and the people are watching and they are giving you awards everywhere. So whether you control the resources of your own state, you give a little to the federal or whatever it is, you will end up the same thing. This corruption, which we fail to fight and to confront, even at local government level, will never sit there. This is my own understanding on this. How can you see this when you don't use the rule of law? When people are not punished for the crimes they make? When the very leaders who destroyed Nigeria are now parading themselves as messiahs? They put their mouth in every discussion, in every conversation you find, and they even accuse people. When you spend 8 years as elected president of Nigeria, you mess up even the democracy, you mess up the economy, and so on and so forth. Can't you argue? How did we get ourselves where we are now? Over 80% of what we get will go for service in our debt. How do we get ourselves? The very people who are controlling this are human beings from different parts of Nigeria. The houses are the same thing, the Fulanis, the team, everybody. So we just have to come to the drawing room We have to sit down and tell ourselves the truth. This issue of corruption, this issue of rewarding incompetence, this issue of rewarding insincerity, this issue of rewarding your own friends, your relations. Food is ready on the table. You invite your own relations to eat the resources of Nigeria, oil bunkering all over wherever you go, kidnapping people for ransom wherever you go, killing, all this, because the country has been made poor. This is one of the problems. To me, it's not even an issue of sending certain percentage to the federal level and giving certain percentage to the states. It's not really the issue. We are not patriotic. We are not sincere to the needs of Nigeria. And as long as we don't sit down to tell ourselves the truth, nobody says because we have different religions, different tribes, we cannot move together. Who says so? If Americans can move together and other people move together, why can't we move together?
I mean, that's the basis of us having this conversation, so we can tell ourselves the truth. But let's stay on whether or not we need this matter of constitution change. Are we ready? Are we ripe for a constitution change? For you, a new document or a further amendment?
Do you think our problem is constitutional? We experimented the parliamentary system. We came with the presidential system. The parliamentary system that is working in the United Kingdom refused to work in Nigeria. The presidential system that is working in America is not working in Nigeria. You think our problem is only constitutional? That's what you are thinking. Our problem is we are the problems of ourselves. People have no faith in their own country. None of our leaders will fall sick and find remedy solution outside of Nigeria. No. So they don't even know what our hospitals are. We had a president who did not have a single child that graduated from Nigerian universities. So how could they know? You could now see them visiting each other in the United Kingdom in their own personal residences. So when you don't have faith in your own country as a leader, so the problem is not even constitutional. You can amend the constitution several times, as long as we don't give ourselves another social setup, we understand each other, we agree to work together, and we agree really to fight corruption collectively. We don't sell our votes, then Nigeria will move forward. But no matter how we go, and the top long grammar of constitutional amendment, we think our problem is constitutional.
So what you're saying tonight is...
When people will win election, they find themselves in the tribunal, then at the end of the day, they are told that they are not the very people who really won the election. Right. And nobody will say anything. Things will reach the Supreme Court. What are you going to do? The laws are there, but we don't follow the laws. What are we going to do? We have to tell ourselves the truth. Come back to the drawing board. Get our social setup right. Get people right from the primary school level to really understand their country in Nigeria, to know that Nigeria is our country. We don't have any other country. This is our country. This is where we are going to live together. So when Nigeria survives, economically improved, then we have unity, we have understanding. Don't you feel, is it constitutional that when things are terribly, negatively happening in another part of Nigeria, the other part they feel is not, they are not affected? It is the same country, but they feel they are not affected. The others again will feel they are not affected. Oh, it is happening in the south. Oh, it is happening in the east. Oh, it is happening in the north. It's not, we are not concerned until it covers the whole country. No, we have to find out that this is our country. We are no other better.
Because you've just talked about... because you've just talked about the economy, I want us to bring in the angle of the cost of governance, because especially because Nigerian democracy has been described as the most expensive in the world in view of the overhead cost of governance and its lack of corresponding developments in the country. Stakeholders have continued to proffer useful suggestions, recommendations to government at all levels on the need to scale down on unnecessary expenditure and to monitor expenses on developmental projects that would impact positively on the lives of the citizen. So how can we achieve a competent and cost-effective management system that is capable of maximizing the nation's scarce resources to the benefit of all?
How can we get what you are saying when process of producing our own leaders is faulty? For you to win election as a president of Nigeria, You need billions, hundreds of billions. It's not a matter of 10 billion. Where are you going to get the money? After the election again, you go to court. You need money to hire lawyers. So at the end of the day, by the day you are sworn in and you finish up to the Supreme Court, when you count the amount of money you have spent, you think it's easy to recover the money before another 4 years? Look at this. Corruption is just too much. And every governor, when he tells you sincerely, if he should talk to you what he spends before he becomes a governor. And even after becoming a governor, when he hires his lawyers, when he goes to court, and sometimes even to Supreme Court, when he tells you billions of naira, whether contributed by different companies, whether contributed by friends, you think is charity? The very people who will come after this, when it is over, and congratulate you, it is over from the Supreme Court. Which country of the world is practicing democracy of that image?
All right. So Prof, let's be clear. Prof, let's be clear. So is democracy an expensive system of government, or because we made it so?
We made it so, that's all. Other countries are practicing democracy. Nigeria made it very, very expensive. Even voters, they make it very expensive. So that is why we can have democracy without that expenditure. And I tell you, as long as a leader, you are produced in a fair, competitive competition, I tell you, you will serve the people. And many of these people will run away, I tell you, from competing for the leadership. But now you find money bags, carrying money. The only reason somebody will say he is qualified is because he is wealthy. He is rich. When you ask him to account for his words, how can you see a country where you have refineries you cannot even repair, and every year money budgeted, National Assembly is not asking them, citizens are not asking them about the money they have spent, and only for an individual to build his own refinery. And now NPCL will come and say, we'll determine this. And we have accepted this in a country of this nature. So what do you expect? How can we move forward honestly and sincerely with things of this nature? For the last 20 years, if you count of our own democracy, these refineries were not working. The staff are there, money allocated every time, budget. The budget will go through National Assembly, and at the end of the money, the budget is spent. So we make democracy very, very expensive because of corruption. And we benefit from corruption, and the country goes down. It brings crisis, it brings poverty, it brings lack of unity and the understanding, lack of trust between leaders and those who are being led. And now we have destroyed education all because of corruption.
All right.
But the very leaders appointed are extremely wealthy.
Prof, let's go on a break, and when we come back, we will continue this conversation.